Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our February virtual Coffee and Commerce event presented by Professor Michelle Walker-Davis of IMG. At this time, I kindly ask you to mute your microphones, and you can resume this later during our live Q&A session, which I appreciate you all doing so already. So just in a few minutes, Michelle will address how to develop award-winning proposals and secure funding from government, foundation, and industry sources and take your proposals to the next level. If you have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to submit them in the chat or wait to ask them live during our Q&A session. So I am going to share my screen now to thank today's sponsor, Lehigh Valley Hospital Pocono, on supporting our Coffee and Commerce series. So I have Jessica Blasco, Manager of Communications and Community Engagement, to give some sponsor remarks.
Hello, yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Lehigh Valley Hospital Pocono is proud to be the sponsor of this month's Coffee and Commerce. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Communications and Community Engagement Manager for Lehigh Valley Hospital Pocono. It's been a rough 2 years for all of us, and as things continue to improve, we are hopeful that the worst is behind us. As your local healthcare provider, your health and safety is our top priority at Lehigh Valley Hospital Pocono, and we want you to know that our efforts to help the community are not confined to the walls of our hospital. We are proud to also show our support through sponsorships, donations, hosting blood drives, and providing virtual info sessions to keep the public informed. As COVID cases hopefully continue to lessen, we are eager to offer even more opportunities within the community, including in-person info sessions, health fairs, and even screenings. However, it's important to keep in mind that we don't want to let our guard down when it comes to COVID, so please continue to exercise caution. Again, we thank you for having us here today, and we're proud to be a supporter of the Pocono Chamber of Commerce and the Coffee and Commerce series. If there's ever anything we can do to help, or you're interested in a partnership or sponsorship opportunity with the hospital, I will include my email in the chat, so please feel free to reach out anytime. So thank you for having us today.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We appreciate you and your entire team at Lehigh Valley Hospital Pocono on supporting our Coffee and Commerce series and so many other Pocono Chamber initiatives. So now I would like to introduce today's speaker, Professor Michelle Walker-Davis of the Imperial Management Group. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
I'm still on mute. Okay, thank you all so very much for being here today. Thank you, all the members, and especially you, Kaya, for walking me through the process, and my sponsor, Eugene Campbell, who brought me to the Chamber. So I am a new Chamber member, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself so that you'll know who's presenting today. I'm Professor Michelle Walker-Davis. I come from a background of government and higher education. I was a senior congressional evaluator for the General Accounting Office. I've co-authored 10 congressional reports. I've worked for the state of New Jersey as a partnership coordinator. And for Burlington County, New Jersey, I was the health planner for Burlington County, responsible for the quality of life for 400,000 residents. And after that, I started my own company, Imperial Management Group, in 2009. I was a mom of 4 children, and I have a husband also. But my younger child received he's an actor, and he went on to become young Simba in The Lion King, Broadway's Lion King. And so as a momager, I had to follow my child around, So I was trying to figure out, how do I do this and still bring in money for my family? And I thought about all the grants that I had sat on boards for as a funder or a reviewer. And I said, you know what, I could always write grants, and I could write them from anywhere. So that's what I did. I went on tour with my son for a year, and I started writing grants. And who knew this many years later that I would still be doing it. So I'll share my screen with you now, since you know a little bit about me. Higher education. I worked at Gloucester Community College as well as Mercer County Community College in the English department for about 4 years at both institutions. So that's where I get my higher education credentials from. Oh, I also went to Syracuse University, my alma mater. I'm a triple alumni from Syracuse, broadcast journalism, as well as an MPA in public policy and an MS in higher ed administration. So now you know who I am. So I'm going to share this screen with you. I also have with me today my executive assistant. Robin Wright is here, and she's going to help navigate the chat for me because I'd probably mess everything up. So Robin, great morning to you. So first of all, I want to say, I am so proud of each and every one of you chamber members, because you're survivors. You have survived this pandemic. 42% of our businesses did not make it. Their doors have closed and some to never open again. So the fact that you're here, I don't know if you've had to pivot or transform, but you're here and I congratulate you and I say stay in the race, okay? So let's see. I don't know how much you know about grant writing or grant funding, but my firm specializes in it. We've been around for about 14 or more years. We help small businesses and nonprofits obtain free funding that's available for them. And we do a series of things. We do grant development. We write your grants. We perform technical assistance. We do grant management in terms of once you win an award, it comes with requirements. So our team makes sure that you stay in compliance so that you don't get your grant taken away or you don't get written up or penalized for doing something that you didn't know that was out of order. We also run donor campaigns and sponsorships for organizations that are striving to have some type of community or global impact. So just think of us as professional fundraisers. We help businesses and nonprofits develop award-winning proposals in the $850 billion marketplace. And yes, I did say $850 billion. Okay, it's available each year. My staff has a proven track record for successfully writing and winning millions of dollars for our clients. And last year, we achieved a 95% success rate. So I'm very pleased about that. Took a lot of hard work, but it was well worth it. IMG, we're a self-contained ecosystem. What do I mean by that? I mean that we own our own grant databases and our own portals, so we don't have to go outside for anything. So within that, we have about 20,000 grants that are available on any given day. The grants are from federal, state, county, city governments, and also international funding. We have an international department. We help with academic scholarships and fellowships for grad students. So we do a combination of a lot of different things that deal with funding. Our award-winning team provides customized technical assistance because each client is different, right? So we are a development firm. We help our clients develop. We help them grow and develop and get started. So we're a one-stop shop, essentially. We do a combination of research, marketing, and focused fundraising campaigns. And of course, I mentioned compliance. You know, I came from the United States General Accounting Office. You know, they're all about fraud, waste, and abuse. So I have a very strong compliance background, and it has helped me to continue receiving funding for my clients. Okay. So I need to know a little bit about who I'm talking to today. So can you put in the chat whether or not you're familiar with grants? If you're familiar with grants, just put yes in the chat. And then Robin, if you can let me know how many yeses we have, that would be great. Okay, what's our number, Robin? And you're on mute if you're talking, because I can't hear you. Oh, I thought Robin was with me. Let's see.
Can you hear me, Michelle?
I can hear you now.
All right, sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Michelle, we have 2 yeses and we have a little and 3, 4, 5 yeses, one specifically with nonprofit. And then we have one response was a little.
Mm-hmm.
And then do you want to know the no's?
No, because we've got 2 yeses. That means the majority of the people are not aware. So that's a good sign because we're going to educate them today. The next question is, I need to know if they are a nonprofit or a small business. So if they can put that in the chat, that would also be helpful to me, whether you're a small business or a nonprofit organization. Didn't know this was going to be engaging, did you? Okay, so what do our numbers look like?
6 nonprofits.
Mm,
I mean, sorry, six small businesses.
okay. All right. So then that means the majority are nonprofits. That's good to know. Interesting.
Yes,
Okay.
7 nonprofits and 1 community association.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. So yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so what is grant funding? Grant funding is essentially free money. It's free money that comes with strings attached, okay? You don't have to pay it back. Sometimes the grant asks you to provide a match or an in-kind contribution, but you'll know right in the application if they're asking you for one or both of those things. What is an RFP? An RFP is a request for proposal. It's also free funding that you do not have to pay back. They also may ask for a match or in-kind contribution. And then you have a NOFA. You might have seen that, NOFA. It's a notice of funding announcement. And I hope you guys can hear me okay. All of these grants come with funding requirements, okay? And who's eligible? Everybody is eligible for a grant, whether you're a small business or a nonprofit, and it will tell you in the funding announcement who is eligible. And the way it breaks down, 80% of the funding pot is for nonprofits and 20% for small businesses. So I've been tracking all this information, and that's what I have discovered. And an RFP, request for proposal, could be for everyone, a small business or a nonprofit. What can grants be used for? Just about everything. Grants are used to finance the investigation of a business concept, to provide working capital for ramping up a business, or for other purposes, for capacity building, for operations improvements. It really depends, but it's an open landscape. For nonprofits, they're used to expand your programs or projects, capacity building or innovation, or to help startups. The marketplace. I call the grant, the amount of money available for grants, I call that the marketplace. I found out over COVID that there's $850 billion available each year in grant funding. So although I had been in business for over 14 years, I had no idea the total amount of funding that was available. And I became aware during the pandemic. So there's $850 billion in grant funding. $550 billion comes from the government. We're talking federal, state, local, county, city government. Then there's $200 billion that comes from foundations, and another $100 billion from private businesses and corporations. And of that funding pot, I also found out that less than 4% of that $850 billion goes to women and Black, Indigenous people of color. So I learned a lot during this pandemic. It was really eye-opening for me in so many ways. There are also government contracts that are available. And I call this where the money resides, okay? In case you're not aware, there are $7 trillion in government contracts that are awarded each year, $7 trillion. It's funded by taxpayer dollars, 100%. We pay taxes, we fund the $7 trillion. And 1% of that has gone to veterans and 0.006% to women and BIPOC people. So you can see the disparity as well as the opportunity, right? So this is what gets me up every day. The $850 billion out there and that $7 trillion that's available. Because what I try to do, once I get my clients set up in the grant marketplace, when they get strong enough, I want to move them over to the government contracts, because that could be generational wealth. Honestly, millions of dollars in contracts. Why don't people apply? 85% of small businesses are micro businesses and they have less than 10 employees, so we're busy working. Most minority businesses are sole proprietors or have no employees. You know, most use contractors for everything, so they don't have staff. So you have no time. You're working in your business or your nonprofit. You don't have time to fill out a grant application. It takes a lot of reading and writing. A federal grant notice is 100 pages, okay? It takes my team 3 days to go through the funding announcement just to see if our client qualifies, all right? It's time consuming. And then there's this attitude that I'm not going to get it anyways, right? Look at the low percentage of veterans. Look at the low percentage of women. Look at the low percentage of Black and Indigenous people that have won or didn't apply. So, you know, it gets a little discouraging, right? So my business, and some businesses feel that their business or their nonprofit is not in proper operating structure to compete. And that is a for real, okay? It is highly competitive. The benefits of applying. It's another stream of income. As a business owner, we need multiple streams of income, just like we do in our personal life. We need that in our business too. We cannot just rely on one source of income. So grants and contracts are another source of income for your business. And they could be quite lucrative. The other thing is, if you don't apply, you can't win. I mean, simple as that. You know, you got to be in it to win it. Once you win, you usually receive more opportunities. So after my years of doing this, what I have found, after we get that first win for a client, it's easier to get the next win. It's almost as if there's a law of attraction for some reason. And also in the application, they want to know if you've received any prior awards. So just like anything else, people like to know that you're going to be a good steward of this money. So having a track record of winning grant awards always helps, but it's not necessary. Let's see. During COVID, the government gave out billions of dollars to help small businesses, and they're still giving out billions of dollars. And what I found was that most small businesses, minority businesses, micro businesses did not apply. It was just too overwhelming to go through that process. And I will tell you, it is not a cakewalk. We went crazy in my company because this was the first time our country had to deal with something on such a massive scale. So they were writing announcements without really thinking it through or how it would impact the people applying. So oftentimes the portals would crash. Oftentimes you wouldn't hear back from anybody for months, or some we're still waiting to hear back from. And then oftentimes they were dealing with what we were dealing with. They didn't have employees to help process the applications. You know, everybody was going through their own personal stuff. And even at the federal, county, and state government levels, they were scrambling just like we were. Most micro businesses did not apply and they missed out on free money. At IMG, we were diligent. We stayed right in there. Whatever it took, whatever was required, we did it. Our clients received $10,000 to $500,000 in COVID funding. Let's see. Robin, can you let me know when it is 8:30? So I'll know to wrap up.
8:30?
Yes, 8:30. Thank you. And what time is it now?
Oh, it's 8:53. That's why I was asking.
It's 8:53.
We started at 8:30.
Okay, I'm sorry. So then let me know when it is 9:10.
Absolutely.
9:10. Okay. All right. Thank you. What we do at IMG, we prepare your business or nonprofit to compete in the marketplace. We package you. Before we do anything, we have to make sure that you are grant ready. So there's a process that goes with that. We do everything in phases. The first phase is to prepare all your documents. The second phase, we do a deep dive into your business or your nonprofit. And then we start doing research to see what grants you qualify for. And then when we find grants that you appear to be competitive with, we develop and submit your applications automatically. So our goal is to get you into the marketplace and to get your application looked at. We cannot guarantee funding. We do not make funding decisions or funding awards. We don't have a pot of money to give you. Our job is to make your application as competitive as possible to get you in the in pile so that a review team will see your name, see your company, learn about you, and hopefully give you an award, okay? But if not, there are about 20 people that became aware of your company. And if we weren't successful the first time, we've been successful the second time in reapplying, because after all, most of these awards come back around, okay? So the complex works begins. We do a lot of different things in-house to get you ready. During COVID, we started in 2009 with my company. And in 2019, I actually restarted my company. I wanted to be considered a startup. I saw that there was a lot of funding for startup companies, and I wanted to be in that pot of money. So I revamped my company. I filed my papers all over again. And so I got a new start. I also found out I had been running my business like a hobby and not really a business also. So I'll tell you that story later once we get to know one another. But during COVID, August 7th, my mom died. I was in the hospital with my mother and my laptop on her deathbed. Didn't know she was dying that day, but I had a grant award that was due, and I was determined to get this grant in. At the time, there were 3 of us writing grants, and I was the main grant person, and I had 2 other grant writers. And my mom died that day. I didn't get the grant in, but my partner finished the grant and got it in. And I told myself, I made a vow to myself that I would never be in a situation again where I was caught up between a family member, their health, and my business, writing grants. I just said I would not do that. And my mom died 9 months after my father died. So I think my mom died of a broken heart. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because during the grieving process, I just shut out the world. And I pulled out the books that I hadn't looked at before, because as a business owner, I don't know if you're like me, but most of us go in business to make money or on a whim or a prayer, and we don't take business courses. I hadn't taken any business courses. So during the grieving process, I really did a deep dive into my own business. And I also put an ad out to replace myself in the grant writing seat. And I ended up in 2 hours, I had over 200 applicants, and I hired 27 people. Yes, I did. True story. And I guess I didn't know I was doing the job of 27 people. That's the way I felt, being a small business owner. We do everything, right? Or we think that we can. Well, the reality is we can't, and we need help. We need other people. So I was able to do contracts with 27 development associates. And then as my company grew, I hired researchers, and I grew over COVID. So COVID has been a tale of two cities, those that have gone under and those that are surviving and thriving. And I'm just blessed to be one of those. So our company, we hire people that are in the top universities, Fortune 500 companies, foundations. We're a nationwide company. Most of our development associates have master's degrees. A few of them have PhDs. And they all hold some type of certification in nonprofit management, grant writing, and fundraising. I told you who I was already. Development work, it takes time. It is not fast food, okay? When we submit proposals, there is a timeline, a deadline of when the proposals are due. And then after the deadline, the committees start to form and they start to review the applications. And it could be months before you hear back from the funder. So it's not fast money, but it could be a steady flow of income once you're in the pipeline. Timeline for funders, like I said, 30 to 60 days for the deadline, could be another 30 to 60 for a panel to review, could be 120 days, 30 to 120 before you get that check. So what we do, we wait on awards, okay? Some are quicker than that. The federal government usually gives you a timeline, when you're gonna hear back from them and when you're gonna get the check. The state has been pretty good with that also. Foundations are a little slower. And the reason is there's more applicants than ever that are applying. We just received a notice from an application. We got $5,000 from the Triumph Foundation this week, and we applied in May. So sometimes it takes that long. Other times it doesn't. Sometimes we can find out about an award in 30 to 60 days. RFPs, we provide technical assistance. RFPs are really quite involved, and you really don't apply for an RFP until you check off the majority of the boxes. You have to have your capability statement together. They want to know about your staffing. They want to know about your projects, your services, and RFPs are usually for $1 million or more. What else? Okay, so why should you hire a contractor? Why should you hire a grant writer? Here's my philosophy. You wouldn't try to do your own dental work. You wouldn't, if you needed surgery, you would go to a surgeon, right? So as a business owner or an executive of a nonprofit, you should be running your organization. You don't have time to be writing grants. Imperial Management Group wrote over 1,000 grants last year. Okay, it's highly competitive. We wrote over 1,000 grants and brought in over $2 million. So we put in a number of grants. We do automatic submission. So you're essentially going up against you writing an occasional grant and a firm that's putting out multiple grants. And I'm small in comparison to my counterparts. My counterparts, they've been doing this probably longer than I have. And they're an automated machine. So, but we've been successful. We're the little engine that could. I'm so proud of Imperial Management Group. We have a 95% success rate. These are our clients. I put their initials to their business for privacy. These are the awards that we brought in for 2021, and they ranged anywhere from $10,000 to $500,000. Yeah, and it's a mix. We have a mix of small businesses and nonprofits. So the $850 billion opened up January 1. It became available all over again. And we have access to over 20,000 grants in our database on any given day. I went in today And I found out that there's 8,679 grants expiring this week. Okay. And of course, we can't apply for all of them, but I wish we could. So far, since January, we have submitted 42 grants on behalf of our clients. We do monthly technical assistant webinars for a fee. We offer discounts to chamber members. We help members as clients, and we also help a chamber as a client. So we have chambers that are clients of IMG, as well as individual members that contract with us to do their work. I guess I have more time. If you want to obtain our services, that's the way you contact us on our website, or you can text 609-320-5375, the word grants. And Robin, could you put our contact information in the chat? And it's 9:03. I guess I finished a little early. So if you have any questions, this is a great time. I'll leave my slides up just in case there's a question on a slide that you might have. But I'm opening up the floor for questions. You can either come off mute and ask me a question, or you can put it in the chat and Robin will make me aware.
Thank you so much, Michelle. That was a great presentation. I know that there was one question that was in the chat, which is IMG a nonprofit?
No, we are a for-profit, a small business. Now, I do own a nonprofit organization called Women of Power and Transformation. I actually started it at the same time I started IMG. And we're also a client of IMG, and we brought in $26,000 for my women's organization in 2021.
That's wonderful. So there was another question that we just got. On average, how much does it cost to apply for a grant?
Okay, so I can only tell you about IMG, I think that our price model is a fair model because my market is first timers. So that's my niche after COVID. That's the ones I wanted to go after. So the services range, we do everything, like I said, in 4 phases. So it starts at about $5,700 for the 4 phases, and then it can go up to $25,000. And the way it goes up is depending on the type of grants we write for you. We don't do just one grant, we do multiple grants for our clients. So for about $5,700, we'll do 5 grants for you. And then it goes up according to whether we do a federal or a state grant, because they are overwhelming and they're a heavy lift. A state grant might take our team 4 weeks to complete, and a federal grant can take anywhere from 6 weeks or more. So it's paid time. Nobody works for free. If you think grant writers work for free, they don't. Nobody works for free. People always ask, do you write the grant and get paid if we win the grant? No. We get a portion of our money up front to help write the grant, to pay for our staff. And most of our clients have a flexible payment schedule. And then, because we work with them for 5 months to a year. So it depends. This is the money game. It's $850 billion. So if you really want to be in this game and you really want to win, it's an investment, and it's an investment over time. So we don't write all the grants in 1 month. We write them over 5 months to a year, because every month there's new funding that becomes available. So we don't want to go for everything in 1 month when there might be a grant that has your name on it the next month. So we spread it out a little bit. And then when we win, we retain a certain percentage for compliance, because remember, it's free funding, but it comes with requirements. And so we're the best ones to set up the requirements for you. They might ask for quarterly reports. They might want final reports. They might ask for evaluations or monitoring. So our staff does that portion to help you out so you can continue to run your business or your nonprofit. So great question, but I don't know any grant writers that work for free. I question why we even do this sometimes. It really gets just that bad. When you do, it's like writing a dissertation every time you do a grant application. But I think we do it for the challenge, because whenever we win, we celebrate. We're screaming, the client's screaming, everybody's celebrating that win, because it means that we've gone into that marketplace, we've gotten money for our client, and our clients are going to use it to grow their business, to help their community, or if it's a nonprofit, they're going to use it to expand their organization and help their community. So everybody wins.
Could I say something? I'm Eugene Campbell from the ECCR group. So I want to talk to anyone that's skeptical, because, you know, when I heard Michelle, she was very articulate, and I heard the presentation, and I probably had some of the same questions you had. Number one, I have my own grant liaison that I talk to almost on an ongoing basis. Today, I am submitting a grant to the SBA. I've never submitted a grant to the SBA. We've submitted grants to Walmart, Bank of America on behalf of the ECCR group. And I'll say this to you, what's that model about the lotto? You know, you got to be in it to win it. And I didn't realize the avenues that I was not applying for and the money that was there. And so my projection this year is to double my budget. So I want to thank anyone that's not applying for grants, because that creates more money for me to apply for. But on a serious note, you got to invest. And I tried to do this myself. You know what, I'm going to write these grants. I'm going to save money. The other thing is, I work with small businesses, and through Michelle, I was able to also get a contract with the Community College of Philadelphia to contract small businesses. That's an outcome. And I didn't know there's this much money out there for small businesses. So the only thing I would say is just have that free consultation call, and talk with one of them about her services. And my grant advisor through IMG, as far as I'm concerned, feels like one of my staff, is working with me and is helping me through the process. It's not like, here, take this grant, fill it out, and I'll submit it. No, here's a sample cover letter, here's a sample grant, here's a sample support letter. And I think it's helpful. But when Michelle talks about that kind of money that is out there, I did the research myself, like I'm sure that you will, is to say it's out there. I just want to end with this. I don't want to be long-winded. I'm submitting this SBA grant today. It must be like a 40-page grant. There's no way I would have got through this. I mean, there's just no way. Budget page, narrative, and it has to be this long and this many words. And I want to run my business. That's what I want to do. I want to run my business, and I want somebody else to take care of it. So I just want to share with you my experience, and whatever way, if you want to reach out to me, feel free. But I would just say, give Michelle a call and see what we can do to work together.
Excellent, Eugene. Thank you. And it is a process. So what happens when you first come into IMG, you'll get a grant administrator, which will walk you through phase one. We give you a checklist, which includes about 90% of what the funder is going to look for in terms of documentation. So the first thing we want to make sure is that we have all the documents we need, right? And then phase two is we do a deep dive. We get to understand your business or your nonprofit. What services do you provide? What projects? Which programs? What is your vision? What's your mission? What's your vision? Do you want to expand? Do you need capital for capacity building? So we find out all these things about you so that we can represent you better when we're writing. And then the third phase, like I said, is the research, and then we start writing. And we write with you. We meet with you and we discuss your business and the application. We give you the opportunity to look at the application and decide whether you even want to go for that application or not. We render a professional opinion. We think you have a 60% chance. We think you have a 50% chance. If we think you have less than a 50% chance, we normally don't go for it unless it's to get you out there so that people become aware of who you are. I have done federal grants less than 50% because, again, I know that people throughout the country are going to read that application, see the name of your business 50 different times. And if we don't win it that time, we get notes back from the reviewers, and then we reapply, and we've been successful the second time around. So it's an art and a science. There's a lot of strategy that goes into what we do. And therefore, that's why I say you really need to hire a professional. Are there any other questions?
So we do have a quick question here. Would you be willing to provide a copy of the presentation? So would you be able to send me your PowerPoint so I can send it over to all of our registrants, Michelle?
I will, with some modifications. I probably will take out the clients or something like that and just leave the dollar amounts.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So that will be sent out shortly then. And then another question that is in our chat is, when applying for the grant, is there an application fee for the grant itself too?
No. And my model is just my model, you guys. If you check with any other grant firm, it's going to be totally different. I developed my model over years of experience, and people calling me up because they were losing their funding that they had received. They had put their grant, they spent too much on administration versus programming, and so the funder wanted a portion of the money back, and it could be $80,000 they want back from you. But because I was a senior congressional evaluator with the GAO, I sit across the table, and I was able to work it out so that the funder didn't, the client did not have to give the money back. And they weren't even my clients. I just got into that because everybody was calling me all the time. So now what we do, we develop our clients and do everything in-house, and we do multiple applications on your behalf. So we don't believe in one and done. Anybody that wants to do one application for you, I'm going to tell you, you're going to lose your money in this climate. We used to get a win after three to 5 applications, we could get a win. With COVID, it takes 7 to 11 applications to get a win. And the reason is there's so many more people applying. It has nothing even to do with you personally. Sometimes they need a geographic dispersion. Sometimes it's just the number of applicants. 21,000 people are applying. So therefore, it takes more applications to get a win. And that's why we don't do just one application for our clients, because I would be taking your money, and I don't want to take your money. I want to represent you the best way possible. So we do a minimum of 5 applications, and we go on and do as many as 12. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Hey, Michelle, good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for this presentation. I was in private sector for many years, and at COVID, I said, I'm stepping out, and I'm now in my own business here. So have you seen, in your experience, how's the transition period been for COVID? I know you said it's been a lot more folks requesting grants, but that number, where do you see it going up for more or plateauing out? Because to your point, when you first started, not everybody made it. Some people transitioned, some people didn't make it. So the reason I'm asking is, what's the percent going forward? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what's the percent going forward for us to
Are you talking about grants or survival?
Grants.
Okay. So going forward, there's still going to be funds available. That $850 billion is still available because the country is still hurting. We're still not where we should be. and
Right.
something has to be done. And people are leaving their jobs with the great resignation. They don't even know where they're going, but they're leaving their jobs, and most are starting a business. But the problem is when you just jump out there and start a business, you really need some capital, right? You need something. So I see the funding is going to continue. The foundations are still giving out more money. There's a lot of new players that are giving out money, corporations and other businesses to help small businesses. So that is going to continue until things stabilize. In terms of the competition, I think it's going to remain competitive because after all, it's free money. And the second thing is everybody's at home trying to be a grant writer, you know? And so what you find is that a lot of the funders are overwhelmed, just like college applications. When they went to the Common App, everybody just started receiving hundreds of thousands of applications. So it's the same in the grant world, but here's the difference. Grants, the funding announcements are written in such a way to put you in the out box. They put so much in there to make sure that they don't have to read your application, because if you do one thing wrong, you're in the out box, okay? So that's how they eliminate. There's a pre-screener that you didn't do your margins right. You didn't put a caption here, or you uploaded the file. It was supposed to be at the end of the documents and you put it at the beginning of the document. You're out. All of that is for real, and it happens, right? So what we do, we stick to the requirements and we go through them with a fine-tooth comb, because it's really about answering the question, following the instructions. That's really all that it's about. So the money is going to remain in the marketplace. And for you, Rick, there is funding for startups. So it doesn't matter that your company is new, there's funding for startup companies. But the goal is for you to get your company to such a place that in 3 years, you can become a government contractor. The government contracts for everything. They don't own anything. Everything is contractor paid out to somebody for everything, whether it's for an event that they're going to have, or for research or data, or for FAA, for trainers, coaches. They purchase everything. But it is so highly competitive that less than, what were my statistics? 0.0006 of women and minorities get that money, because we usually give up. But if you can get to the 3-year part and get yourself a designation as a small business, you know, you go through the certification process, I can get you in there to compete, because there's money set aside just for you. You're only competing with people like yourself that have been in business for 3 years or less.
Thank
Okay,
you. I really appreciate it. No, you did. You hit it nail on the head. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Kyra, I don't know how much time is left. I will answer anything. Just tell me when my time is up and I will say goodbye.
Thank you so much, Professor Michelle. So it is 9:20 currently, and the end of our presentation is until 9:30. So does anybody have any final questions for Professor Michelle?
Well, I have a question. I want to hear from someone that's applied for a grant, and I know Eugene has. I want to hear from someone else that's ever applied, what that experience was like for you, and if you won your grant. And all you have to do is come off mute and answer the question. So I take it that's a no. I can't see the chat, so I don't know.
So there are no further answers in the chat. So I'm guessing that a lot of people are looking for information on how to get started. So thank you so much, Professor Michelle, for that, because your presentation was extremely informational. I've personally learned so much. So just one last call for any final questions.
Okay, so then I just have a closing comment, and that is, you have to see your business as more than just a money maker. You have to see your business as contributing to your community, to your society, and this country. And that should be what gets you up every day. And if you start your business, your day, every day with that in mind, you're guaranteed to be successful. And I don't speak about anything that I don't know about. I'm speaking this way directly to you because I was that person. I was going to close my doors, but I didn't know what was on the other side for me. And so I'm growing during COVID, and you can grow through COVID also. So just continue to take one step at a time. Don't look at the big picture. Strengthen your weaknesses and go forward and prosper. Thank you all so very much. I'm so happy to be a member of this chamber. I look forward to speaking with you, even just to get to know one another would be great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Michelle. And yes, welcome. We look forward to working with you in the future. So I believe that is all the time that we have for today.